All right, let's begin with a bow. Good posture. Take a deep breath, feel your spine, and give it away. With a little bow of mutual respect. I wanted to start on my cool shirt because I just got it and I'm in Richmond, Virginia, because I'm visiting my grandma, who is 90 years old, and I'm visiting my auntie. I don't know how old she is, and around 55 or something. And I just visited my mom. So I'm doing the little family tour, and my dad is back in Denver, Colorado, and I live in Boulder, Colorado, and my mom is up in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So I've just been on the road for 2 weeks, and I'll be back in Denver and then Boulder tomorrow. So I wanted to talk about something that is a challenge for all of us, or most of us who are lucky enough to have that challenge, which is family. So we have a ton of huge hit articles on Elephant about like how to deal with your toxic family member, the sort of evil uncle or the crazy aunt or the mother or father who ruins your whole life. So from a Buddhist and I think from a human point of view, number one, so I'm going to try and share some practical tips that come from the Buddhist tradition and also just from mindfulness generally. So from some perspective, it's important to just kind of, at some point, to stop blaming our family. So I have a really intense family situation on one side, and luckily I was kind of separate from a lot of that. But when I think when I graduated from college, that was sort of a formal moment of saying, okay, I no longer expect that side of my family to really be there for me. I'm trying to talk about this without naming names, because while I don't care, I don't want to rake people over the coals. That's not the point. And that sort of is the point of what I'm talking about right now, which is whatever my neurosis, whatever my genes, whatever my difficulties and my habitual patterns, my relationship with diet or my mind or humor or relationships or money, a lot of that is traceable to my family. But at the same time, at a certain point, in Buddhism it would be 16 years, the rites of passage, you have to say, to hell with it. I'm my own person. I'm responsible for me. And whatever has happened with my family, it is real, and I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to ignore it, but I'm not going to use it as justification to continue. Basically, the history of the past is real and it is there, but I am not my past. I am nothing, really. From a Buddhist point of view, we aren't anything solid. We are just in the present moment. We're just conglomerations of karma and momentum and desires and this and that. So, and we can work with everything. There's this wonderful quote called The Lion's Roar, which Trungpa Rinpoche talks about in a book. Chogyam Trungpa has great Buddhist books if you're curious. If you're not, that's great. And the quote is, whatever occurs in the confused mind is regarded as path. It is a fearless proclamation. The lion's roar. Everything is workable. So whatever your situation, it is workable. That's really good news. When I was a teenager, I was super inspired by that. So, alrighty. So a couple little, maybe more grounded things for working with families. So I've been living in family homes. I haven't been in motels or hotels or anything. So there's like nowhere to escape. Not that I particularly want to, but there are times when you're like, yeah, the way other people live and living with them, and you realize, wow, this is different. And maybe it's horrible, and maybe it's delightful. And there's a range of it. But the horrible stuff, like for me, I ride a bike every day, and that's a real privilege that I worked hard to achieve. And it's a privilege that's actually very affordable. But here in Virginia, in the suburbs, you drive everywhere. There's air conditioning in this entire house. It's freezing. So I've closed my doors and opened up the windows and closed the vents so that I can just have normal air and not be breathing in canned air. So you do what you can do. And if your family loves you, they'll support that. I remember years ago, there was a great moment with my grandma who I'm visiting here where I'm organic and hippie boy or whatever. So I visited, and she was delighted out of her love for me to find organic and vegetarian stuff in the grocery store. I'm now vegan. It would be even more of a challenge, but it's more available than it used to be. So basically, a sign of love is that your family will support you in your weird things, as long as they're healthy, as long as they're good, and they won't like denigrate you for that stuff. But if they do denigrate you, if there is weird stuff, it's important. Here's a good tip, maybe number 3, that to just, like Obama style, just brush stuff off your shoulder. Just as much as possible, practice this. It's not an exercise, it's shrugging. It's a mental exercise. I'm driving in the car and it's air conditioned with Auntie, and she doesn't want me to open up the windows usually because she likes the air conditioning. She is super generous and lets me put the windows down and stuff. But, I want to look around at the few trees that are left in suburban Virginia and enjoy my travel, right? I don't want to just be in a bubble car with air conditioning and music. But if I can't get my way, I just have to shrug. With my mom, there are weird things that she likes to do. Everyone has their sort of set ways of life that if I wanted to do them differently, almost immediately I could see her go to a kind of a vulnerable and emotional place where she was almost going to cry. And at that point, you're like, whoa, it's okay. You do your weird thing that doesn't make any sense. And of course, you don't say that part. It's okay. The whole part you don't say. You do your weird thing that doesn't make any sense. I'm here to be with you and to do whatever. That's great. On the other hand, tip number 4 is there are times when you have to be frank. There are times when you have to be honest. And it's important to say that with as little blame as possible. You can even preface something, even if it is blamey, by saying, look, this is just what it is. And so things like that come up around my father, around my whoever. You just have to be honest. So you don't want to roll over completely. You have to say, I am here and this is the truth and yada, yada, once in a while. So don't roll over. And then there's this fundamental thing that applies to romantic relationships as well, which I love. It comes from Lindsay Block, who is behind the camera more or less. And she was saying, there's this quality whenever you're with family where it's very humbling, same in relationships, friendships, but particularly romantic relationships or family, where they bring out our neurosis, they humble us. Most of the time I feel pretty stressed out and burned out. But other than that, I feel kind of together and comfortable in my daily life. I've arranged everything so that it supports my life and it's pretty good. But then you travel, you're outside of your envelope, you're outside of your bubble, and suddenly things can get really humbling and you can not even like yourself or who you're being, or you can try and say something and you feel like you're not being heard. Whatever the situation is that makes you feel incredibly small, like you have a little chipmunky voice. You have to be kind to yourself, first of all. And second of all, you have to realize that this is Dharma, this is Buddhism, this is the path of mindfulness. As Lindsay said, if you can't change your family, how can we possibly think about changing the world? And that is so true. So from the same token, if you can't do your own dishes, maybe you shouldn't be out there campaigning for your favorite political candidate. Like, it's not that it's not good to be an activist and just obsess about your own thing, but we have to work with our own thing and open up and be awake and wakeful and available first, and then help the world. And again, we don't want to wait till we're perfect. We don't want to obsess about ourselves, but it's incredibly humbling and gratifying to be intimate. And there's nothing more intimate than working with family. And that is a path of meditation or mindfulness just as powerful as, say, working with a guru on top of a mountain or meditating at some ashram. This is our practice. So if you have any comments, tips, questions in the comments, I'll personally reply. And I do these videos once a week on youtube.com/elephantjournal, as well as every single day for now on Facebook Live, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. MST. And if you want to connect with Elephant, with the best stuff that we offer. That's elephantjournal.com/newsletter. All righty. Hope you're well. We could end with a bow. Take a good posture, a good breath. See you soon.